wọ́n kéré sí nọ́mbà wa. Wọ́n kéré sí nọ́mbà wa. Àwọn ọmọdé wọ̀nyí kéré sí nọ́mbà wa.
Wọ́n kéré sí nọ́mbà wa. Wọ́n kéré sí nọ́mbà wa.
Not because I suffer fast, not because I pray and fast. No be your show, no be that. I'm watching. Osinachi, I'm no kwa. Osinachi, one, Osinachi, I'm watching. Osinachi, mama, Osinachi. Not because I suffer fast, not because I pray and fast. No be your show, no be that. I'm watching. Osinachi, I'm no kwa. Osinachi, one, Osinachi, I'm watching. Osinachi, mama, Osinachi.
Wọ́n kéré sí nọ́mbà wa. Wọ́n kéré sí nọ́mbà wa. Àwọn ọmọdé wọ̀nyí kéré sí nọ́mbà wa.
Wọ́n kéré sí nọ́mbà wa. Wọ́n kéré sí nọ́mbà wa.
because I suffer fast, not because I pray and fast. No be your show, no be jazz. I'm watching. Daily, Osinachi, Namukwa, Osinachi. One money, Osinachi, I'm watching. Daily, Osinachi, Mama, Osinachi. Not because I suffer fast, not because I pray and fast. No be your show, no be jazz. I'm watching. Daily, Osinachi, Namukwa, Osinachi. One money, Osinachi, I'm watching. Daily, Osinachi, Mama, Osinachi. Not because I suffer fast, not because I pray and fast. No be your show, no be jazz. I'm watching. Daily, Osinachi, Namukwa, Osinachi. One money, Osinachi, I'm watching. Daily, Osinachi, Mama, Osinachi.
How many people are you expecting?
Only two.
Okay.
Only the second person is not for two.
Okay, so
Apparently, it's one.
so you're expecting the second person.
Only two.
Yep.
Not trust.
Nigerian actually has lots of people.
It's not very enough. That means if I have only one person, it means I'm going to reach it profile.
Yeah. I mean, you will have get more audience actually if the range is not. Some people are still lots somewhere.
Okay, still you know, but so they have their own channel that get your thing. Not so that, yeah, you know. So he's the only person online program.
Yeah.
Oh. Can we start?
You are on.
Alright. All right, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Inoma Okore, and I'm the chair of this particular panel titled Critical in Driving on the Shoulders of Giants, Critical Engagement with the Dramaturgy of Emergent Playwrights. So the goal of this panel is to look at the works of emerging playwrights, the themes that they captured in their plays, the language, and every other thing about playwriting. We want to see how their works actually differ from the works of the first generation and the second generation playwrights and the kind of themes that they captured. So basically, the crux of this particular panel is to look at the works of emerging playwrights and as well as amplify their works. As well as amplify their work. So under this panel, we have two presenters. The first is Dr. Sylvanus Dangoji, and the second is Mr. Latif Suleiman. Dr. Sylvanus Dangoji is from the Department of Theatre and Performing Arts, Bayero University, Mamadu University Zaria, while Latif Suleiman is from the University of Ibadan. Dr. Sylvanus Dangoji, please, can you hear me? Muted.
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes,
sir.
good afternoon. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So, as it seems, it's like you're the only presenter we have today. Because we are supposed to be three.
Okay.
I called her yesterday and she said she may not be able to present her paper. The second person is still not online, though we are expecting him. But for now, it seems you are the only person. So we'll take your presentation now. I don't know.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry, he'll be presenting on the topic titled A New Historicist Reading of Henry Akuburo's play, Yatal Mawal, The Warrior King 2023. Yeah, he'll be talking about a new historicist reading of a play, Yatal Awala. Thank you so much. You have the floor. Forgive my pronunciation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Please, can I share my screen? I need permission to share my screen.
Yes.
You can.
Make a request. Make a request to share your screen, then I'm going to approve it from here.
It's showing that I'm disabled.
No, you can make a request, sir. Please just go to the other side. Just go to share, then you can make a request to share screen.
I'm on the green button. I'm on the green button, and then it is a host, disabled attendee screen sharing.
Okay, then let me make you a co-host for now, so you can share. Okay, try it now.
Okay. Thank you so much. So my name is Sylvanus Philip Dangoji. I'm of the Department of Theatre and Performing Arts, Faculty of Arts, Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. My paper is a new histories reading of Henry Akubuiro's play Yamtarawala, the Warrior King, published in 2013. So I'm happy to be part of this panel, which is talking about riding on the shoulders of giants, critical engagements on the dramaturgy of emergent Nigerian playwrights. Henry Akubuiro is an emergent Nigerian playwright because Yamtarawala is his first play. It is published in 2023 and it is his debut. Therefore, when the panel organizers requested for fresh writers, I consider Henry Akubiro as an emergent Nigerian playwright. Yamtarawala, the Warrior King, was published in 2023. It's his first attempt at drama, but in it, I'm trying to read a new historicist reading of the play. That is in order to contribute to the critical attention on new Nigerian playwrights. Now, when we say new historicism, what is it? It is a literary theory propounded in the early 1980s. The major proponents are Stephen Greenblatt, Michael Foucault, and Frederick Jameson. They are just talking about the interconnectedness of literature and historical context in the rendition of drama. So their argument is that literary works are products of their own time. They shape the social, political, and cultural forces of the moment. So also those forces shape literary production. So the key critical canons of new historicism are as follows. The first is the issue of contextualization. New historicism says that you need to understand plays based on the context in which those plays emerge. So it's something about setting, historical, geographic, and then period. So that needs to be understood in a way. Then also the issue of cultural materialism. In terms of cultural materialism, new historicism sees drama as a way of promoting culture. Every other thing that is connected to culture can be conveyed using drama. And then new historicism sees playwriting as an interdisciplinary endeavor. It is not just the work of dramatists alone, but sociologists, historians, journalists, like in the case of Henry Akombuiro, can participate in the process of play creating. Then there is the rejection of formalism. Those structures of formalist presentation are not binding on new historist plays. They have the freedom, they have the liberty to approach their presentations the way they want. Then the issue of the subjectivity of interpretation. When you are rehistoricizing or doing history, it is true that history depends on the account of the storyteller. And it has been said that unless the animals get their own storyteller, the story of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. So in new histories criticism, there is no problem if the playwright has a position regarding the subject he or she is treating. Then there is, of course, the interconnectedness of literature and then history. So now when we delve into the play, Yamtarawala, we see that that play draws from the rich history of the Kanem Borno in the northeastern part of Nigeria. Before colonialism, it is the same culture across Chad, Niger, and Cameroon, and that northeast corner of Nigeria. So the issue of power, the succession over the throne of the Emirate of Ngazargamu is the major central conflict of that play. And in terms of cultural materialism, Yamtarawala is a literary work which illustrates how cultural, political, and historical setting of the play are all crucial. So because of this, there are aspects to do with song, with music, with dance, which are all contained within the play. In terms of interdisciplinary endeavor, Henry Akubuiro is a journalist. He is also a historian and then a playwright. In what way is he? By training, he attended theater art school, but by profession and current occupation, he is a journalist. However, in the course of his work as a journalist, he developed interest in the history of the Bura people of Borno, and then he therefore did a lot of historical research in order to do the play. So in the same mold, journalist, historian, and playwright Henry Akubuiro has done an interdisciplinary endeavor. Now, there is material, myth, legend, and history, which he leveraged upon in order to build a contemporary play. So, play is not just about the past efforts, but it's also relevant to contemporary reality. And when we talk about the rejection of formalism, we see that new historicism stands in contrast to formalist approaches. So, Akubuiro incorporates nuances that may not have historical fidelity, but they contribute to the understanding of the social, political, and the cultural context in which the text was produced. So he had liberty to bring songs, to bring dance in a situation where ordinarily you say those situations do not call for dance, but he did them as some form of some form of intervention, some form of comic relief to an otherwise tragic play situation. Now, on the subjectivity of interpretation, I will say that new historicism recognizes the historical interpretations as subjective. Now, I said earlier, unless the animals get their own storyteller, the story of the hunt will always glorify the hunt. The same history can have different accounts. So, a new historicist play can give you a different interpretation of a history that people have said otherwise. So, new histories idea gives you a flip side of the content. Then, of course, the interconnectedness of literature and history. We find that you cannot finish reading that play Yamtarawala without having an idea of the history of the Kanem Borno. So it is a literary work, but it is steeped in history. Reading that play alone takes you on a journey to Biu, which is the capital city of the Bura people in the northeast of Nigeria. So the playwright also developed literary characters. Prince Abdullahi, Prince Umar, they were the two major contenders to the throne after the passage of their father. So in conclusion, I'll say that new historicism provides a framework for understanding literature as a product of its historical moment and shaped by the shaping of the social, political, and cultural forces of its time. Henry Akubuiro, the play Yamtarawala, the Warrior King, offers perspectives which for me are consistent with new historicist interpretation. So I'm happy to review more of the works of this playwright. I look forward to more creative endeavor from him so that we can build a new body of texts and critical works on emerging Nigerian playwrights. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Silvanus Dangote, for this awesome presentation. Thank you. Please, you make it. He's still the only person of time.
See comment. Okay, maybe she's an attendee. That's the only person there.
Okay, so it seems he's the only presenter I will have today. And we do not really have audience here who can ask questions, but I just want to ask a question.
All right, please.
Yes, concerning this particular play that you have looked at, you said you looked at it, you put it from the angle of new historicism. Now, looking at the theme of the conference, which is continuities and discontinuities, where are the areas of continuity and where are the areas of discontinuities in that particular play?
All right, thank you so much. So in terms of continuity, we're looking at traditional institution. When we look at a traditional institution, there are people who have produced works in the past, but their own approaches differ from what Henry Akubuiro is doing. You will agree with me that when you talk about people like Femi Oshofisan, he made use of the work of the myth of Moremi in doing Titubi in Rontodu. If you look at Ahmed Yerima, Ahmed Yerima did a lot of historical plays about the Emirates of Northern Nigeria. If you look at Emi Idegu, he also did a lot of historical plays on the Igala culture and the African worldview. But where Henry Akubuiro is different is that this is a new playwright. This is an emerging playwright that is also using historical material but not necessarily in terms of historical fidelity, in terms of using that material to bring about new interpretations to new reality. So the key issue about new historicism is that we can go back into ancient myth, legendary characters, into old folks, but we draw lessons from there for the reinterpretation of today's reality. So in terms of continuity, we see that Henry Akubuyo will help in bridging the gap, because when we say standing on the shoulders of giants, we have those early first generation, second generation playwrights. They have treated material the way they needed. A lot of them at the beginning followed critical canons consistent with Western and classical ideas. But the new and emerging playwrights are charting a new course that does not compel them to stay faithful to the old system. So that is why the new historicist criticism is applicable to the work of Henry Akubuiro. And I'm sure that if he continues with that interest in drawing plays from historical materials, we can take from the old sources to learn lessons for contemporary development. So it is the old enriching the new, or telling the old story in a new form. So the old and the new meet in some form of continuity and discontinuity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The old enriching the new and the meat. Thank you so much. I appreciate your response. Thank you.
Thank you.
So do we have, there's no other presenter. So since you're the only presenter and we are fine. Thank you so much for presenting. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you.
I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to sleep. It's not sweet now.
There is a banquet.
It's 5:15 now.
Maybe can we
So
hold
many
on?
people told me they joined online. Hello, Latif Suleiman. Can you hear me? Latif Suleiman, can you hear me?
Still connected to the audio.
Dr. Silvanus, are you still there?
Yes, I'm with you. I'm here.
All right, we have a second presenter now, so probably you may have questions for him when he finishes his presentation. So you
All
can.
right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Latif, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you so much for coming online. Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
I hope you're ready.
Yes, I just joined now. I'm trying to.
All right. So
fix.
before you get ready,
Okay.
I'll read out your biography. So just get ready, please.
All right.
Okay, Latif Suleiman is a theater scholar trained at Bayero University and University of Ibadan for BA and MA, emerging as a top student respectively. He's a PhD researcher at the University of Ibadan, investigating the intersection of drama therapy and African oral tradition to help autistic children in Ibadan. He's a trained theater director and applied theater artist. Suleiman has published academic papers revolving audio drama, theater directing, drama therapy, and African dramaturgy. Winning the 2019 Mind Creative Writing Contest with his play, The Voiced Voice. Suleiman has appeared in some short films addressing contemporary Nigerian issues. You're welcome, Suleiman Latif.
Thank you very much.
Right,
I
so
appreciate
Suleiman,
that.
So Suleiman will be making a presentation on the topic, and I saw this reading of Funsho Ayejina's The Character Who Walked Out on His Author. And I saw this reading. So you have the floor, Suleiman. You have 15 minutes to make your presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Before I begin, I would like to very quickly share my screen. So. Sorry, please, just in a minute. Please, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Yeah, that's it.
Not yet. Okay. It's blank, right?
It's blank, yes.
Okay, I think it's network. Let me. Can you see anything right now?
Yes.
You can see, right?
Yes, you can.
All right, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be part of this panel. And just like they've rightly introduced, my name is Abdulatif Sulaiman, and I'm from the University of Ibadan, and I'm working on and I've studied this reading of Funsho Ayejina, The Character Who Walked Out on His Author, right, which was actually published in 2020, right? And the essence of this is to see how emerging playwrights in Nigeria are actually faring in terms of their contribution to dramaturgy in Nigeria, right? And to see the perspectives from which they're coming in terms of the philosophical underpinning their particular creative output. So now I'm looking at absurdism in this particular play, The Character Who Walked Out on His Author by Funsho Ayejina. So absurdism as a literary movement did not surface until the 20th century, when literary scholars began to represent the absurdities and meaninglessness of human realities, you know, particularly after the horrendous experience of the World Wars. Of course, we all know what happened in the World Wars, how, the ripple effect of that, of the World Wars, you know, on the people, their ideology about human existence, you know, and how they actually have to interact among themselves in order to make meaning, of their life, to make meaning with their life and determine who they actually are, if they are responsible for their calamities, or they have to actually seek, let's say, the metaphysical or the supreme being in terms of coming to help them, all right, with their issues and all of that. So the ripple effect of the word is actually the fact that people began to realize that they are responsible for issues, for whatever happens to them, right? So, and of course, we all know that we had existentialism, which was more of a philosophical, something. And the one that is really kind of that can actually be used in terms of gauging, some elements in, say, playwriting, say, creative output generally is actually absurdism, right? But when you want to look at, elements of absurdism in terms of the philosophy, in terms of the thoughts that it actually parts, right? You're looking at existentialism, right? So in order to now gauge this particular play, we are using absurdism, right? And the father of absurdism is Albert Camus, right? Who pointed out the fact that absurdity originates from humans alone, as the world in its crude form is simply irrational from the perspective of Cosmos, right? So we understand that the human life and the world are absurd when they are meaningless and irrational characters are manifested, right? So moving on, why the irrationality and meaninglessness of the world may psych up suicidal attempts in humans, Camus amplifies the need to sabotage such inconsequential thoughts, but rather understand absurdity and resort to rebellion, which he believes could gear man towards realizing his freedom. Of course, when people actually go through some stress in life, what they usually think about sometimes when they cannot control their emotion and all of that is suicide. But of course, and before you can even think about suicide, it means there is a point at which you have considered the meaninglessness of this word, right? And as a result of that, you're not thinking that, okay, let me commit suicide. But Camus actually said that no, suicide should not be an option. That rebellion is actually what you are supposed to do. That you should revolt against what the absurd world. And before you can revolt, before you can rebel, against the absurd world, it is important for you to even understand the world. All right. Try to understand how it's operated and all of that before you can now say, okay, this is the particular angle I'm going to use. So nothing, as in Hazan 2024, reveals the fact that contemporary creative writers have shown several tendencies to present ideas and opinions which reflect the uncertainty of the future, especially in today's highly dynamic world, which appears intricately complex to all humans. So this corroborates why we need to examine how budding Nigerian dramatists project characters who grapple with and query their existence and their freedom to give meaning to their lives while they live with fellow humans. So it is the aim of this paper to examine the absurdity in Funsho Aegina, the character who worked out on his author. The study deploys Albert Camus' philosophical perspective to uncover the absurdity, irrationality, timelessness, and rebellion in the play to further amplify the ideological and philosophical orientation of emerging Nigerian playwrights. So this study adopts a qualitative, descriptive research design, all right? It is qualitative in nature, and it describes the scenarios that are actually uncovered in the play, and it explores, of course, the absurdist elements in the character who worked out on its author by Funsho Aegina. And the study collects data primarily from a close textual analysis of the play, with particular attention paid to its dialogue, character interaction, and philosophical undertones. So selected excerpts were purposefully chosen based on their relevance to the core absurdist concepts of rationality, rebellion, meaninglessness, and timelessness. So it is important to also understand the absurdist ideology in drama. Of course, absurdism, there's absurdism in different aspects of literature, but how is it, what about the ideological underpinning of this particular movement, right, in drama? So that is where the idea of Martin Esslin actually comes in, all right, when he published a work christened The Theater of the Absurd, right? And so just like Camus denies the rationality of the world, Esslin also rejects the conventional approach to dramatic works, ushering in an orthodox style of expression, right? So Esslin believes that this unconventional approach to the construction of drama creates fertile ground for several incipient radical theories that shape artistic expressions different from the popular conventional drama and theater. This movement for Esslin shows the illogicality and futility of the human existence, and that if artists genuinely appreciate absurdity, then they can discover the truths about human existence, about human experience. So absurdist drama or theater is knotted with illogical plot progression while stressing irrationality, right? So the essence is to project the meaninglessness of this world. So again, Esslin notes that the purposeful merging of tragedy with the most hilarious part is a prominent feature of the theater of the absurd. And this attribute is evident in many absurd plays like the popular Waiting for Godot, Luigi Pirandello's 6 Characters in Search of an Author, among others, projecting dark subject matter amidst comical sequences. Of course, dark subject matters like, say, violence, and all of that, stuff like that. He also maintains that absurdist plays deploy radical language devaluation, right? So in a particular dialogue, we can have a character say something, then the other character can pick a word from that particular expression and digress to something different entirely, which is not in tandem with the idea of coherent communication. All right. So the use of radical language devaluation is popular with absurdist ideology in drama. So now this study examines elements of absurdism, such as absurdity, irrationality, rebellion, timelessness, as depicted in the play, The Character Who Walked Out on His Author. So now, what is the synopsis of the play? The play, The Character Who Walked Out on His Author by Funsho Ayijina, centers on a surreal encounter between Biodun Shoremekun, BS, a celebrated author basking in the glory of his literary achievements, and Professor Beriberi, a rebellious character who mysteriously escapes from one of BS' plays. Just as BS prepares for a moment of honor, BB intrudes, challenging his creator's authority and accusing him of abandoning his characters in pursuit of fame. So although initially confused and dismissive, blaming Eshu for the disturbance, BS eventually recognizes BB and is stunned by his boldness. Their exchange unfolds as a comically absurd dialogue filled with digressions, secular reasoning, and philosophical jabs about authorship, control, and creative responsibility. So as BS seeks a way to restore order, BB whimsically demands only 2 places to return to his fictional world. After a brief trance and ritualistic utterance, BB disappears and BS wakes up, believing it was all a dream. However, the play ends on a puzzling note as BS is met by a bellboy who looks exactly like BB, leaving both the character and audience questioning the boundaries between fiction and reality. So the play largely is about a character, Professor Beriberi, who tries to escape, who actually escapes from the play, all right, of a particular, the fictional character within the play, who is also an author, Biodun Shoremekun, all right? One of his characters in one of his plays actually escapes and meets him in real life, in reality. So now the question of how he actually, the character, that's Professor Beriberi Bibi, the question of how he actually escaped from that play is what actually formed the whole play, the structure of the whole play. So there is the absurdity and irrationality in the play You know, the irrational in the play predicates on the absurdist elements that revolve the entire dramatic piece. Notably, the characters engage in actions that portend no meaning. Irrationality is the predominant element of absurdism in the play. The character merely stress unimportant ideas, such as where BS says the door was locked and double locked, as if the character in question is truly a human being who could walk in through the doors. You know, so notably, none of the characters could explain how this radical escape from the play could materialize. But then the author in the play, BS, keeps asking repeatedly who facilitated the escape and the rationale behind such action, even though no answer is preferred, which compels BB to state that a burning question here, a burning question there, a burning question everywhere, but alas, you are not Moses, the prophet, and this here and now is not a bush on Mount Sinai. You know, so BS, who is the author within the play, is actually eager to know how one of his characters escapes and meets him in reality, which he finds, you know, shocking and unspeakable, so to speak. Now, continuing, the more the play progresses, the more the characters unpack their state of irrationality, justifying their beginning from their absurd reality. So to make some meaning from Zell's situation of not finding some characters in his other plays, BS asks why God has done that to him, believing it is simply a miraculous and mysterious encounter in his creative career. So the author actually used BB to now talk about the question of how humans actually blame God for whatever nemesis they encounter in their life. So BB says that you human beings are ever so predictable. God is the ultimate landfill into which you consign all your problems. You foul up on your own, but proceed to search for somebody but yourself to blame. If not God, then it's issue, it's messenger. Notwithstanding the fact that all issue ever does is hold you to the logic of your thoughts and actions. So largely, the author, Funsho Ayijina, establishes how humans invariably mention God for their woes, but they forget that the ultimate reason for their circumstance is their actions and inactions. Meanwhile, as Hatan 2024 states, this blind faith in an unknown entity reflects irrational belief in the possibility of meaning in a chaotic and absurd world. The fear of death and the unknown can also trigger irrational thoughts and behavior. And as far as this play is concerned, the fear of death for BS, Biodun Shoremekun, the author within the play, is that he can suffer from mental problem. He can suffer from, the lack of eternal fame, which is supposed to having published a number of plays in his name and all of that. So the author of the play dares to disrupt the traditional dramatic conventions by riding on the shoulders of giants like Samuel Beckett, Harold Pinter, Luigi Pirandello, et al., to accentuate the absurdities bedecking the nooks and crannies of the world. So in the play, BS points out dramatics' democratic ideology, especially how they allow characters to think how they should be represented in their plays. And BB is provoked to ask, Democrats, how dare you? How dare you wrap your filthy tongue around the word Democrat? Remind me, since I seem to have forgotten, when did you ask me how I wanted to be represented in your play? Or better still, tell the audience, when did I give you permission to assign the corrosive, foul-mouthed Pepe Oka to me as a wife? Characters controlling their writers indeed. Tell me, what about your tricks of selecting and arranging critical details to achieve your desired effect? Not to mention the rearranging that goes on during rewrites and rewrites, during rewrites after rewrites. So largely here, we find the character with the play, that is BB, challenging the fact that authors, playwrights, do not request for the permission of the characters before they are actually represented the way they are represented, which, as much as the discussion is serious, it is also farcical. It is comical. So the author of the play, just like I have said, dares to disrupt the traditional conventional dramaturgy, all right, by putting on this particular play. So the character BB even goes on to mention how they expect the author to share their earnings with characters in their play. You know, disgusted and perplexed, BS, who is the author, asks, what absurdity are you mouthing? Even though both look in the intricate world of absurdity. So meanwhile, as BB remains adamant over taking what is due to him as a character, BS asks, in accordance with what legal contract? Then BB responds that in accordance with the law of natural justice. So it is observable here that the radical outfit of BB, the character, is profound, such that may not be surmounted unless the winds and caprices are sustained. So for what it is worth, the author, Ayejina, deploys the character of BB to depict how effective rebellion could be materialized in the African context, ingraining the need to fathom the agent of oppression or the character of absurdity before striking. Meanwhile, it is important that the rebel revolts in line with their own truth, as Camus 1999 states. The singular means to address the absurdity of human existence is to confront and rebel against it, which could then lead to a noble ideal. So this ideology is one of the premium thoughts which Ayejina re-echoes through the play, the character who worked out on his author. So while some other characters might have opted for suicide, BB does not just accept their absurd state by letting it decimate him. He confronts the absurdity and rebels it in order to gain his freedom. Moreover, the depiction of time in the play is ambiguous, as one cannot even delineate the particular time the events in the play unfold.
Mr. Latif, you have just 3 minutes to round up. Thank you.
All right, I'm almost done. I'm a slide away. Ayejina ostensibly deploys a non-linear approach in unfolding the events of the play, as the reader cannot specify the time frame. Right, so BS and BB are trapped in an inconsequential stillness of time as they get to waste time unnecessarily over trivial issues, that could be settled in a short period. So while BS wastes time seeking to discover who paved the way for one of its characters to escape from his play, BB maintains his right to enjoy as much as his author does, so he can be free and equality prevails. So in the effort to meet their different demands, they digress inordinately to argue over inane and irrelevant issues that could jeopardize their efforts to deal with their absurd situations. Through the characters of BS and BB in the play, the character who worked out on his author, Funsho Ayejina deploys his absurdist dramatic style to stress that when people embrace uncertainty and step into the unknown, they often find themselves losing track of time. Conclusion. Funsho Ayejina, the character who worked out on his author, represents a radical poetics of absurdism in modern African drama because it annihilates the rules of dramaturgy and expectations of audiences. The play is an enactment of the futility of meaning-making in a chaotic world and a parody of the illusion of authorial control through the self-reflexive conversation between BS, the author, and BB, the character. So having been inspired by early absurdist proponents, including Samuel Beckett, Luigi Pirandello, and Harold Pinter, Ayejina reconceives absurdity, evoking a specifically African imaginative context. Ultimately, the character who worked out on his author is not simply an absurdist experiment in form, but also a courageous manifestation of artistic liberty, creative revolt, and a redefinition of authorship in the postmodern African drama. Ayejina ingrains the rights of characters and that of budding dramatists to question, disrupt, and reconfigure the dramaturgical legacy bequeathed to them. To truly achieve this, the emerging playwright should decipher the conventional dramaturgical tradition, confront it, and reshape it in their absurd exploits. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Latif, for your presentation. So what we have just heard is Mr. Latif. He just presented on the topic titled An Absurdist Reading of Funsho Ayejina's The Character Who Walked Out on His Author. So I don't know, do we have questions in the house for him? Do we have questions for him? We listen to him. Yes, sir.
Yes. Good evening, Latif.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, my name is Jiro Ademiju Beko. I write plays,
Okay,
I teach
sir.
playwriting, I teach film. I'm with the University of Jos, but I finished from Ibadan. So I'm happy to hear that you also went to my house for that. Yes,
I'm
my
happy
first
here
question
too.
is this Ayegino's response to 6 characters in search of an author? Is that Pirandello or Pinter? What's the title of that Pinter's play? Okay, but just hold it.
Okay, you're
there.
talking about Luigi Pirandello's 6 characters in search of an author?
Yes, is this Funsho Ayegino's response? That's the first question.
All right, sir.
A response or a reuse of the same, thematic focus. You mentioned something about philosophy and ideology and the rest of them. I don't know. Which one are you really interested in? Because in the drama of Imagine Playwrights, and that's what will take me to the theme of this panel, Dramaturgy of the Imagine Nigerian Playwrights. Who are the Imagine Nigerian Playwrights? Right? For me, my own take is what I've codenamed the post-Oshopison generation. So you are using Imagine. We have had Imagine before I came up with my own terminology, and now you are saying Imagine 2025, even though you did not tell us the date of publication of Ayegino's play. From what I know, the little I know about absurdism and existentialism, the two, I can call them theories and philosophies, talk about stagnancy, meaninglessness of life, and irrationality. You understand? So, how does this play bear on what is happening around us? Did you get that?
Okay, I'm with you, sir.
Let me stop that.
All right, thank you so very much, sir. Do we have any other question? Any other question?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, I have a little contribution. Yeah, yeah. I like the conflict in the play based on the synopsis and the discussion, where there is a conflict between the author and the character. I think that breaks boundaries. So I think that's the kind of the breaking of boundaries, the new possibilities that emerging Nigerian playwrights should be addressing. So I think new playwrights, emerging playwrights should add more experiments so that we come outside of the frame that has been established by the older playwrights, or what Ademiji Beko is saying over there as the post Oshofisan generation. But my little contribution is also in the issue of who is an emerging Nigerian playwright. When I read the call for papers for this particular panel, the panel organizers asked for critical works on playwrights not older than 3 to 4 years. So that was the reason why I was also forced to look for a play not older than 2023. And I think at the beginning of the presentation by this last presenter, he mentioned how recent that play is. So my own concern now is in terms of critical canons, in terms of theories for analysis. Rightly, absurdism, existentialism, we have studied these theories as students of theater history, students of art history. But my question is that since Albert Camus, since Beckett, since Martin Ensslin, have there been some critique, some reiteration of these theories of absurdism and existentialism? Are there debates, are there holes that have been punctured in the philosophy of absurdism, which new critics can develop so that we have new plays, but we don't have to analyze them with old critical canons? So with this, I want to submit that I look forward to us, by God's grace, interacting again in the next LSA. And I'm proposing that there should be a panel on emerging critical canons. Why must we continue to use critical canons that are old? What new critical canons can we apply to emerging Nigerian playwrights? Thank you.
Thank you so much, very much, Doctor, for your contribution. We'll look at that, or we'll walk towards that through for the next, let's say, emerging critical canons. All right, so walk towards that. So, Mr. Latif, can you respond to the questions posed to you? Mr. Latif, are you there?
It's off.
It's off.
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay. Okay, so.
Okay. Online guests, I can see Peters, Obohi, and Ed. Is it Edna?
Edwina.
Edwina. Do we have any questions for the presenter? Move. I didn't use it.
Okay.
I didn't use it. Okay.
Does anybody have anything to say?
Okay.
Okay.
To say? Any question for the presenter? Okay.
Or did they just sign the app?
Okay.
I went to the other.
We are muted by the hosts.
Okay.
They are all muted by okay. So this was
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, Peter, good afternoon. We can hear you.
Thank you very much. I do not have questions for the presenter. I just want to say to comment the panel, and it's been an interesting discussion, and just maybe a provocation in addition, or lending my voice to what the last contribution, what the last speaker mentioned about critical canons, and I'm thinking that it's also worth investigating if actually quote and unquote emerging playwrights are even led by any definite ideology or any definite theoretical underpinning, or whether we are in a post-modernity that the creative works are betting their own critical canons and should be engaged as such as they come, So it's a thought I'm also taking away from the panel, and I just thought to mention that to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter, for your contribution. Thank you.
Is Edwina speaking?
Ms. Edwina, do you have anything to say?
I think it's not bad.
It's not.
Right. When I saw your call, I thought we're going to collaborate, or you wanted to go alone.
No.
And,
He was pursuing the soul of the father.
and
Dr. Ola.
okay, but I know. I mean, wanted to go with you because what my panel was concerned with, same thing. We don't have critics for the place of the post-consumption generation playwrights. Now you are looking at critical engagement of emerging playwrights. That's why I asked that question. You know, imagine, well, because you got put maybe 3 years, whatever.
Yes.
Last LSE, Ojoni came with similar panel talking about plays between so year 2010 now or something like that. And I also engaged him and said, no, that's what he wanted. Well, for me, in the categorization of playwrights and plays, we need to observe a number of years. I mean, a period. Yes. We're looking at periodization. You know, if you say a period of 5 years, is that enough to get what we want or what we expect from a group of playwrights? We say 10 years and all of that. Some people have argued and countered my own categorization, but I actually did not pin it down to any number of years. I just said post Oshobisa. Oshobisa emerged in the late 60s. Okay. And he reigned in the 70s, in the 80s, and then my generation emerged in the late 80s. That was a period of 2 decades. Now, after our generation, late 90s, then 2000, yes, who are the playwrights that started emerging or becoming known by the turn of the millennium? Now, after that, we have seen another 20 years after. If you are going sociological about what do you call it? What is this age something? How many years for it? 25? Age gap. You know? A generation gap. Yes, that's what. The generation gap, 25 years, which was what I used in my own research. You know, that we're waiting for a number of but from what Dr. Dangoji said, yes, he's with that. He's more at home with the Peter.
Yes, he has something to say.
Okay, he's more at home with the play. I'm not ready, but
Do you have something to say?
Yes,
Your hand is
I want
up.
to. Yes,
All right.
I wanted to ask a question, and maybe if Prof could maybe also throw more light on it, on what his perspective is regarding, because people have also contested the idea of generational classification of playwrights. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so I wanted to know what Prof's thought is on how people have also contested that notion of generations of playwrights, even from the earlier ones of first generation, second generation, third generation, and his own idea of post or sufficient. Because I think people are contesting and questioning what qualifies beyond maybe the period they came to begin to write or they came to limelight. Beyond that, what factors do you consider in terms of categorizing playwrights into generations?
okay, thank you, Peter. That's very interesting. My own perspective is that in our own climate, we have something similar in the West. In British drama history, you have a categorization on generational basis. In fact, beyond the, theater history, we are taught that we had different eras, different epochs. The Elizabethan theater cannot be what we're having now. We have gone beyond that, from the classical to the Roman to the Elizabethan and the rest of them. Now, in our own climb, yes, we have the likes of Soyinka and his clique who emerged before independence. Then, roughly 10 years after, the Oshobison generation began to emerge. Now, the age gap between Soyinka, 1934, born in 1934, Oshobison, born in 1946, how many years? That's about 12. It's not even up to 25 years, which the sociologists will say is a generation gap. If you go back to the American Generation X and baby boom and the rest of them, there was a number of years that were considered. Now, for playwrights, I chose to name that generation after the Oshobisons. Like I said, my premise was the defunct Nigerian University Theatre Arts Festival, NUTAB Playwriting Initiative, Virgin Script Initiative that started in 1988. I was a beneficiary of that. Okay, a year ahead of us in the university, we had people called NUTAB, started asking, NUTASA or NUTAB, started asking for plays written by students and new and emerging playwrights, talents. Before then, plays by Oshobison, Soyinka, Zulu, Shokola, the rest of them have been taken to NUTAB. But in 1988, starting with Unilorin hosting NUTAB, it was agreed at NUTASA NEC or Congress or whatever that let's begin to give new talents the opportunity. If that initiative was not taken in 1988, even you, Peter, that won Sonta's Oluwabafemi Award last year, nobody would have given you a chance. So my activism is towards, opening up the space for people like you came how many years after me? You understand? I didn't come out to say I was the leader of the generation, the most of no. We had a Siaba Irobi ahead of us. And then we followed, and then others have followed. You understand? So if you feel that it is out of fashion to say generational categorization and everything, fine. From my own perspective, I will continue with this activism and advocacy until the entire world accepts it. After my work, younger colleagues have done their own researches and have come up with a post-military generation. Someone like Ako, Dennis, has done that, and who else like that? We have different. So, if from my own perspective, from my own research, premise, I came up with that, and I'm sure you may be aware that I was supervised by Oshobison himself. He's my supervisor. He was my supervisor, my teacher, my mentor, and everything. We had a long, drawn quarrel. But eventually, this is my work. I was externally examined by Olobafemi. And since then, Baba Olobafemi has always said, you are a rebel. And you see, from what Suleiman just presented, Latif, right? We was talking about rebellion, we was talking about this and all that. Yes, somebody has to lead the rebellion against the older generation. In my panel that we had yesterday, 2 sessions, people are still arguing that as long as Oshobisons, the Soyinka, the whatever, the Obafemis and the rest of them are still writing and publishing, we cannot post them. Olabafemi, for instance, is a post-Oshobison dramatist. He came ahead of us. And I used 3 parameters in my own research. Age of the playwrights. Okay? We were born in the late 60s, my generation. And they were ahead of us. Then the production date of any of our works. And then finally the publication date. So my statement problem in my research was that we had no access to the stage as the older generations had. We had no access to the published, what do you call it, the established major publishing houses. many of which were in Ibadan. We had no access. If Soyinka should sneeze today, Spectrum will pick it, Malt House will pick it, and publish. You understand? I went around the whole of Ibadan with my manuscripts. I collected manuscripts from people who wrote for the stage and who wrote for the screen, because I now have to look at the stage and the screen, the drama of the post-Oshobson generation. I went to Anima, I went to Longba, I went to all of them, the whole of them. You know what they asked me to do? Go and bring a note, a covering note from your playwriting teacher. And who was my playwriting teacher? The same Oshobson. So I went back to him, prof, sir. They said I should bring covering note there. He went and told me, Ademiju, even my share is, rippling with about 25 manuscripts, searching for publisher. You know, he is my mentor. We expect such things. But we're arguing, on the grounds of LSA over the last 2 days, that let's assume Soyinka had established a publishing house. Let's assume Oshobson had established a publishing house and all of that. Will not be, going through the trauma of self-publishing. After my first play, published in 2010 by Craft Books, just to try him out and to join the league of published authors, and then to learn the ropes. Yes, I work in journalism, I work in production, I work in feature and everything. So today I am a publisher because I had to go and register a company, self-publishing my works, and others who love me to bring their manuscript for me. So the generational conversation will continue, even with you. Hello, Peter.
Yes, thank you very much, Prof. That's
Am I convinced you beyond all reasonable doubt? Or confused you?
I mean, the argument I mentioned is not mine. I was just, I read about them and I was seeking your perspective, and I really like the parameters you have used. I think one of the things I read that people were contesting was the idea of categorizing playwrights based on subject matter, which someone argued, I've forgotten what I read now, who I read now, who argued that putting playwrights in generations based on maybe ideology or subject matter may not be, may not produce an accurate classification, because you could find playwrights who were in an older generation but who explore subject matters that are relevant today.
More contemporary. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I could go through your own Winnie. Peter, I've not gone through your own Winnie script, but I know that before the jury could pick your script as the winning script, they must have found merit in it. Okay? Thematically, otherwise, in considering any play, this is what this panel is all about. Critical engagement of plays. In considering them, you have to look at the theme, you have to look at the structure, and then the issue of ideology. In the course of my field work, which was between 1995 and 2005, a period of 10 years, I gathered from the older generation that we didn't have any ideology as new and emerging playwrights back then. Now, Latif has tried to inform us that Fusha Ayejina's play conforms to the ideology of existentialism and absurdism. Oshobson wrote absurdist plays. Others are not that. Yes, there is nothing wrong with that. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, but the ideology of our own generation does not follow the what's the Soyinka generation now? That passive what's it called now? Yeah, of the Soyinka generation. The messianic ideology that until you shed blood, he was an Okunian author. Then Oshobson came with the Ifa Orunmila and saying Marxism. By the time we emerged, Marxism was already on its way to the graveyard. Okay? And so we had, because by then the USSR had, broken up, the Berlin wall has been, has collapsed and all of that. Those who are even touting Marxism, putting their belts to the left, as my other used to do, to call themselves leftists. And they were supposed to be riding Volkswagen Beetle cars. They started buying Mercedes-Benz, they started buying Jeeps and all of that. What is Marxist in that? For our generation, we didn't have any opportunity to enjoy as they enjoy. Like I said earlier, no opportunities to approach what's it called? Publishing houses. Nobody to even put our plays on stage. They will not even pick any of our script. That's our older generation, our teachers, to produce. But they were producing that. Up till now, as we argued, it was argued during my panel yesterday here. Just had the, So I want to give you the floor. So I think Silvanus was going to say.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Peter, I hope he has answered your question.
Very well. Thank you very much, Prof.
Can continue privately.
Thank you so much. Mr. Silvan, sorry, Dr. Silvanus, your hands are raised. You have something to say?
Yes, my own contribution is in the area of the philosophical readings or the ideological readings that we critics read into the works of playwrights. I agree with Professor Ademeju Beppo that at the time that playwrights are writing, they may not necessarily subscribe to a particular ideological leaning, or if they do, those ideological leanings may have their own expiry date approaching. My excitement with this particular panel is that it asks for critical engagements on the works of emerging playwrights. As a lecturer in theater and performing arts, I get my students to read works on Nigerian drama, African drama, new plays. And then when you say, let's do a review, let's do a critique, they say that we have gone to the library and we've not found any work on any new playwright. Students come for masters, students come for PhD, and they say they want to review the work of Clark. They want to review the work of officer. And we ask them that beyond that generation, aren't there new playwrights whose work you want to review for your thesis? So I'm excited that this panel is asking that we should look at the works of emerging Nigerian playwrights such that by the time that students have further engagements with them, there will at least be some contributions of some critical attention, some critical materials on them, apart from the old brigade. But the second key thing I want to say is that it's we critics that read theory, that read ideology into the works of the playwrights. My own work on my own critique of Henry Akubuiro, I read new historicism into it. It may be unlikely that he considered new historicism when he was writing his play. But we as critics, we say that there is an angle from which we think that the content of this play, the thematic preoccupation of this play is consistent with so and so theory. So that's why I think that we should also be looking at new critical canons going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your contribution.
I may quickly add, Professor Silvanus Dangoji, yes, I like the fact that you consider yourself a critic. And that is what we are looking at now. Where are the critics of the post or submission generation plays and the emerging new plays and all of that? Where are the critics? That is what is missing. I'm happy to listen to Latif, working with Funsho Ejina's, Funsho Ejina has retired as a professor from the Caribbean. Now he's working on his play. You understand? If you look at the age, I interviewed Funsho Ejina during my field work. I interviewed Akonjina Siru. I interviewed, many people and members of my generation. So we need the critical engagement. Let's begin to look at this. Yeah, the older generation said we don't have an ideology. Like you said, I agree with you totally. As a creative writer, I'm not interested in any ism or any theory or any ideology. When my work goes out and you as a critic picks it up, you are the one that will read whatever you want to read into it. My students, both undergraduate and PG, have read a lot of theories, a lot of philosophies into my plays that I did not even think about. You understand? That is where it should be. Not me coming to say I'm a feminist writer, I'm a whatever writer. That's the critic's fee. The critic, in my own belief, is the midwife for the creative writer. If there is no critic, then there is no creativity. Thank you.
But it's also not bad for the playwrights to have an ideology of biography.
No, I'm not saying we shouldn't have an ideology, but I shouldn't say it. I shouldn't write it on my forehead. Let it come from whoever calls himself or herself a critic.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Latif, are you ready for us? Mr. Latif, can you hear me?
Okay, that's not going to my question.
Yes, I can hear you. I'm here.
Are you ready for us? Can you respond to the questions posed to you?
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, you have just 5 minutes to respond. 5 minutes, please.
Okay, I think Professor Silvanus was trying to ask me some questions earlier on, but the network was bad, so I left. I don't have those questions, but if I should talk about the first set of questions, yes, talking about the date of publication, yes, I know quite well that Funsho Ejino is not of the current generation. I did my research. But then the idea of emerging playwrights, I believe, is not about your age or what about the achievements you've had. But the fact that you have your first and only play written in 2020, which falls between the bracket of the emerging playwrights we are actually critiquing, then that qualifies you as an emerging playwright. Funsho Ejino has this play, the character who works out on his author, as his first and only play, which was actually published in 2020. Although its stage production, I think, was done around 2004 or thereabout. But the publication, when it actually got to the public, was actually in 2020. And that qualifies the play as part of emerging plays that we can actually explore. And that is why it was chosen, right? And he also talked about Pirandello. Yes, I want to agree that Funsho Ejino drew inspiration from Pirandello's work, 6 characters in search of an author, where we have 6 characters who have are engaged in rehearsals and all of that. Now they're looking for a particular author, right, to coordinate their affairs and all that based on the past experiences they've had and all of that. So now it's also about an illusion, right? An illusion, which is the same thing that Funsho Ejino has also tried to explore, but from a different perspective, right? But where we have similarity is the fact that the characters are the ones who are actually looking for the authors. All right. So in this case, now we have just 2 characters, the author and a character. But in Pirandello's work, we had 6 characters and an author that is actually not there. You get it? So he just tried to creatively draw inspiration from Pirandello to achieve his own purpose. So you also talked about reducing the content of the work to our current happening, what is happening around us and all of that. Yes, I can actually say that whether we like it or not, the world we live in is absurd, right? It is absurd. And as much as possible, people still try to dwell on the metaphysical, right? They try to still engage Eshu or Batala and, of course, the supreme being, all right? Saying that, okay, when they have issues, when they have problems, then those supreme beings are actually responsible for their issues and all of that. But then when everything is now good, it is now their handiwork and all of that. So whether we like it, absurdism still resonates with us, right? So that's what I have to say about that. I think, okay, a reverse. Okay, I think I've talked about that. Yes, it's not really a reverse, but a means of just achieving his own purpose to communicate his own radical approach to playwriting, but just drawing inspiration from Pirandello. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Latif, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Dr. Silvanus Dangoji, do you have any closing remarks, anything you want to say before we end the panel? Dr. Silvanus Dangoji presented first. You are not here.
Okay,
Yes.
I was wondering.
Yes, he presented first.
No problem. Sorry, I missed your presentation. Well, go first.
No, I'm happy I finished my presentation before Prof came. I would have received more.
Yes, I was searching for the venue. I promised her that I would be here.
All right.
I'll do a one-man riot score for her.
Okay, I can come to see you in Jos when you come back so that we can have further engagement.
No problem.
But for me, I think it has been a successful session. We started on a slow note, but the discussions that have been harvested, there's somewhere I wanted to run to, but the discussion held me back. And I think we have had fruitful interaction regarding looking at the work of emerging Nigerian playwrights. So going forward, if we do more of such engagements, we will harvest material that students will not just look at post-Oshofisan, but they'll be looking at post-Ademiju Bepo writers and be generating.
Peter is posting me. And I'm not angry.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
very successful.
Because he has worked on there, you know.
Thank you, Mr. Latif. Any final words? Mr. Latif, any final words? Mr. Latif.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You can hear me. Yeah. Yeah. I think I want to appreciate all the panelists, right, for their presentation, because it's one thing to show interest and it's another to actually show up, right? Because that actually makes these panel a success eventually. So I appreciate them, and I appreciate Dr. Ioma, right? Thank you very much for making us sing the emerging playwright, because I never actually, in fact, throughout my master's program, I was just reading Shoyinka, and Femi Osofison, all right, who is actually here with us in Ibadan. So this is actually an opportunity for me to, widen my content, try to expand, all right, and look beyond the shores of Osofison, Clark, and the likes of them. In fact, I want to read your work too, ma'am, because I know you published some work, right? So the more we read about emerging playwrights, the more we develop interest in, critiquing their work. Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so very much. Thank you. I use this opportunity to invite you tomorrow for another session, which will be holding by 12:45 tomorrow. We'll have 3 sets of presenters: Dr. Silvanus Dangoji, Mr. Peter, Mr. Latif, Ms. Edwina, and Prof. I would like to use this opportunity to invite you for another panel we'll be having tomorrow. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for.
Bye.